In the current series of Horizons, we've heard how science and technology has the potential to solve many of the world's most pressing problems. Now on BBC World News, Adam Shaw looks at how we're going to attract the next generation into those fields to continue to tackle the big issues.
In this series of Horizons, we're on our global tour in search of some of the most exciting new science on the planet. We'll be talking to the scientists, the technologists and the business leaders who are right in the midst of creating some of the most far-reaching changes the planet has ever seen. We're on a journey to uncover the forces that are shaping our world. Welcome to Horizons. Our biggest scientific challenges aren't solved overnight, so we're going to have to create a whole new generation of scientific minds. And that's what we're in search of. Efforts to make science exciting and turning science geeks into science heroes. Leading the charge is Dean Kamen with his World Robotic Championships.
This is the only sport where every kid can turn pro.
The teenage inventor who wants to teach the world to code.
I think that kids are inherently interested in technology and they're inherently interested in programming.
In Africa, they're targeting them young to coax a curiosity about science.
3, 2, 1, drop them.
Plus, she's too cool for school. I lend a hand to one of the internet's biggest science stars. I can see it crinkling.
Ooh, it's shrinking down. Okay, and now pull it back out. Ooh, look at that.
Oh my good God. The new generation are called Generation Z, and they're mostly under the age of 15. They make up about a quarter of the global population. That's roughly 2 billion young people worldwide, and that's more than twice the number of people aged 60 and over. Generation Z are now the largest generation ever, and who knows who's growing up among them. Young minds have unlimited potential. Take these Horizons alumni, for example. These two went on to tussle for pole position as the world's richest man. They're Bill Gates and Carlos Slim. And these playful chaps reached for the stars. They're Sir Richard Branson and Buzz Aldrin. And then there's these two, a future television presenter who went on to meet the other, Dean Kamen. He's the man who invented this, the Segway. But I've not come to talk about the Segway. I've come to a convention centre in St. Louis with about 20,000 school children, all competing to build the best robot they can. It's part of an effort by Kamen to inspire and excite a whole new generation of scientists and technologists. So let's hear from that new generation to see who they think Dean Kamen is.
Dean Kamen is just an inspiration, creating the Segway and the insulin pump and all these innovations to help the community, to help the global community, is really something that we all aspire to.
Dean is someone who has not only invented so many amazing products, but someone who has inspired thousands of teenagers and young people to do the same.
Dean Kamen is an absolutely amazing person. He started such an amazing program and has inspired so many people to keep doing engineering and to change the world.
These days, it's largely sports and music stars who are the focus of teenage adulation. But Dean Kamen has become a science star. He unintentionally became a hero for self-confessed nerds by launching the first robotic championships. We're in a sort of sports arena.
Oh, the whole model is sports.
Right, so the model is sports and it feels like that. It feels like a rock concert or a sports game, but that's not the purpose of what you're doing here. Briefly, can you just explain to me what is the purpose?
Look at our name, for inspiration and recognition of science and technology. 25 years ago, people, as they still do today, were complaining that we have an education crisis because so few kids, particularly girls and minorities, go into science engineering, and we all decided it's an education crisis. I'm an inventor. What do inventors do? We look at the same problems everybody else look at. We see them differently. We said, maybe the problem isn't an education problem. Maybe it's a culture problem. Maybe in a free society where you get the best of what you celebrate. We have a society that celebrates football and basketball and the NBA and the NFL and Hollywood and the Academy Awards. We celebrate them so much that if you look at television, if you look at any kind of media, there's no room in our culture for math and science and engineering. So I said to people, you know what? Let's say it's a culture problem. Why don't we do what we know works? Kids get passionate about sports and entertainment. Let's turn math and science and engineering and problem solving, let's turn that into a sport in exactly the same format as other sports.
And so the Robotic Championships were born. A quarter of a century on, there are 20,000 young people at the final.
There aren't quizzes and tests. There are trophies. There aren't grades. There are cheerleaders and mascots and all things that make kids excited. There's the excitement of the unknown. Who's going to win? There aren't answers in the back of the book. People always say to me, well, Dean, you're too hard on other sports. I said, no, I'm just jealous because they have such value. And then they say to me, but Dean, sports are really important because kids learn teamwork. And I say, well, if teamwork is so important, why when they do it in a classroom do you call it cheating?
Right.
Let's take everything we know that works for sports to create passion in kids and turn it into a passion for things that will matter to their future. This is the only sport where every kid can turn pro.
Regional rounds are held around the world, and this year's challenge is to capture an opposing side's tower. The team has to form an alliance. Together, they try to break down the other side's defences, their robots smashing their way across the battleground. It's far more than medieval escapism. Dean's underlying message is based firmly in the 21st century.
The fact is, we depend every day for our lives on technology being available and perfect. And if it's imperfect in any way, we all have a cow. Yeah. So I'm training kids to see how to design and understand and improve the capability of technology. You'd think everybody in the world would be interested in this.
Throughout our chat, I've been able to hear the cheers rising from the arena below. I'm keen for a closer look, although I'm totally unprepared for the effect Dean has on these teenagers.
So what is interesting is that we've lost Dean. Actually, he's somewhere amongst there. So we've moved about 10 yards in the past 10 minutes, and I don't have much hope of actually getting to the end of the corridor here.
Just like racing cars, the robots are prepared in the pit before being taken out onto the main floor to compete, and that's where the serious action is. But I'm not sure we're ever going to get there.
So did you 3D print that? Class of 17, why not? As my team, are we getting to the field here?
This really is like a rock star because I'm trying to stand next to Dean. Dean wants me to stand next to him, and young people with sharp elbows keep thrusting me out of the way, and I'm just sort of left as this short, bald guy going, Dean, Dean. It's a bit crazy.
You're very
It's all
patient.
a bit overwhelming for first-timers like me. At least I don't have the added nerves of competing, unlike this rookie team from Dayton, Ohio. The team name is Bonds and the robot is Spectre. We catch up with them just as they're about to leave the pits.
I'm Ben, I'm on the Bonds team, and we're about to go out on the field. We just finished our final preparations, and we're really pumped and excited to have a good match. This match is different because we changed stuff around. We're working on implementing a device to climb to the top of the tower at the end of the match. So this is our first match since we started tinkering with some of that stuff. And we'll have to see how it goes.
We just got to go out, perform, do our job, do it well. And it's not so much about the result of winning or losing, it's about going out there and showing what we can do.
These robots are brutal. The game is fast and furious, and the adrenaline pumps through an arena full of teenagers. Dean aimed to ignite a passion. Well, he's certainly done that, even for teams that lose.
That match went great. We didn't come away with the win, but at the same time, we're out in the field. We tested a new autonomous routine where our robot, went through one of the defenses it hadn't done before. So that's great to show the other team something we can do that they maybe didn't know about before. And then we scored a lot of balls in the tower, which other teams are looking for partners that are going to be doing that when it comes time for the playoffs.
It wasn't all bad news. Bonds did go on to win the All-Star Rookie Award for 2016, and I'll be heading back there later to look at some of the other success stories. This is the Star Prep Academy in Los Angeles, a place designed to nurture a child's individual talents. I'm here to meet a teenager whose particular flair is for developing technology.
Thomas Suarez is just 16 years old, but he's rather unusual. At 7, he taught himself how to code computers. At 9, he developed his first app. And at 12, he gave one of the most popular TEDx talks on his work. He is now founder and chief engineer of his own 3D printing and app companies.
Well, I've come from the school to, well, suburbia in Los Angeles. It's not really in places like this that you'd expect the next big technological advance to be made. But Thomas is hard at work in his house, and he thinks he has some ideas which really might make a big difference. So what's special about the 3D printer that you're trying to create?
The two goals of the Orb 3D printer are to be super fast and be modular. Every part of the Orb 3D printer is separate from every other part.
Right.
As a maker, there are two types of 3D printers right now. Very proprietary printers, and then you have open source printers. And the proprietary printers, you can't really modify that much. The open source printers, you can modify, but they're not user-friendly, and it is somewhat hard to modify. So we want to bridge that gap and create the perfect prosumer 3D printer, where we get ease of use from the proprietary printers and also the openness of open source 3D printers, but everyone can create both 3D prints and modules that can do different things.
Right. If you manage to do that, would the world of 3D printers, people who know what they're talking about, would they go, wow, that's a cool thing to have done?
Yeah, I believe so. And a lot of the makers that I've talked to have said, this is what I want now, because they're dealing with these proprietary 3D printers or these open source 3D printers, and there's no one bridging the gap. So this is an example of a module that I'm working on right now. This is the hot end module. So this is the part that actually takes in the plastic and pushes it through. Right. Makes it hot and extrudes it out. We have a standardized connector on every single module. This basically allows me to take it out and maybe put in a frosting extruder or things like that. All based on open standards.
This is a secondary project because you started really doing apps, didn't you?
App City is a nonprofit programming course for students. We teach true code, so we don't do drag and drop exercises too often. We really want to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to get into real coding that's used by the industries.
There is the academic bit of actually writing code, teaching people how to do it, and then the other bit of making it popular and trying to say, hey, this is a good thing for you to be doing. What was your experience of trying to get other people involved in it like?
I think that kids are inherently interested in technology, and they're inherently interested in programming. So it wasn't really a case of trying to get people interested in the programming and teach them programming. It's just they want to learn, and we want to teach them.
What really struck me about Thomas is really he's just trying to solve practical problems. He wanted an app that didn't exist, so he invented it. He wants a type of printer that doesn't exist, so he's trying to invent it. He believes there is a generation of people desperately interested in mechanics behind the technology that surrounds us. All we need to do to unleash that new potential is open the door to Generation Z. In this program, we're looking at ways young people can be engaged, inspired, and educated about science and technology. And that's why I've come to the Makini School here in Nairobi in Kenya to see how they're exciting the kids with science.
This class is about to have one of the most important lessons in science, that it can actually be fun. They're having a visit from a group called Funky Science, and one of the founders of the group says it's their mission to encourage Kenyan kids to consider a career in science and tech.
Do you think Kenya has a lack of fully trained scientists?
There are scientists, but most of them either don't come to school to mentor kids, or most of them are abroad. So they take their expertise abroad and they don't come back and give.
So even when you're managing to grow scientists at home, they leave the country?
Yes, most of them leave, and you find they don't come back. And they don't come back to contribute to the development of the country, and not only of the country, but also of the kids.
How important do you think science is to the development of an economy like Kenya?
Very important, because science and technology, especially both of them combined, can help Kenya grow out from the developing phase into a developed country.
How effective do you think the work you're doing with children of this age actually can be?
In our eyes, we think it is the most important thing.
The school pays for a visit from Funky Science, which also provide online videos.
The water is taking up more of the heat, therefore allowing for the plastic bag not to actually burn and melt.
Access to the internet is limited here, so there's nothing like a bit of hands-on action to keep the kids' interest up.
It's dead on both ends more.
We made a mistake. We need to do the other end. They're being taught to build parachutes to learn about gravity and wind resistance.
3, 2, 1, drop them.
It's very simple stuff. At this age, it's just about creating curious minds.
This year was our first time having Funky Science, and I really enjoy doing experiments with my teachers. I'd really like to become a scientist.
There's no denying that the kids are definitely engaged in the science and technology here. And even if perhaps they haven't worked out the physics of parachuting, an excitement and a willingness to engage, I suppose, is a great first step. Based in Los Angeles is a young scientist who is putting the chic into geek with a whole range of entertaining and educational science videos, which has attracted millions of views. She's recording one now, and I've been invited to join.
Check this out. I've got some liquid nitrogen in here, which is nitrogen brought down to such a low temperature, it turns into a liquid. I have a special guest with me here, Adam.
Hello.
Welcome. I'm gonna have you jump right in here.
Okay, right, tell me what I should do.
Okay, so first, you know how to make balloon animals, right?
Yeah, absolutely not, but I'm very happy to give it a go.
Diana Cowan is known on the internet as Physics Girl. Educated at MIT and Harvard, she's an advocate of the STEM program, which encourages the study of science, technology, engineering and mathematics. Her science videos have had more than 12 million views.
There we are.
That looks...
Brilliant is the word you were looking for. Brilliant it's not, but perfect for dunking in liquid nitrogen. Put it in.
Just jump right in. So kind of push it into the liquid nitrogen. See, can you see it crinkling there? Ooh, it's shrinking down. Okay, and now pull it back out. Ooh, look at that.
Oh my, good God.
And it is straight back to the cute little dog that we had before.
That's the most exciting thing I've done. It's all great fun.
Mm-hmm.
What is it that you're trying to do on the YouTube channel?
So on the YouTube channel, I'm trying to, take things that are fun, that are catchy, that are interesting, and show the science in them. I really want to show people that everyday things or interesting, odd things are science related.
And feel any change in how even younger people are attracted to science or have any sort of connection to it? I
do, and I think part of that is just that there's more of this media, more of the science media online and on TV shows, and a lot of emails that I get, a lot of the response I get is from parents who are showing the videos to their kids, or a little girl who's 7 years old who wants to be a physicist now because she saw some of the videos.
If you had some sort of ideas or tips about how science can be made relevant to a younger audience, how it can be made exciting, what would that be, do you think?
I would say my #1 piece of advice is just show your genuine enthusiasm. If you don't love the science, if you're not interested yourself in the science, that's going to come across.
Well, thank you very much for inviting me onto your channel. I hope I haven't ruined it.
No.
Thank you very much indeed.
No, it was wonderful. And thank you all for watching, and happy physicsing.
Diana is part of a growing trend of science and tech internet stars. One of the biggest names is Derek Muller. His channel has more than 3.5 million subscribers and his videos more than 270 million views. What do you think it is that attracts that very large amount of people?
I think that people are hungry for content that they can learn from. I think back in the day, before information was readily available, it was okay to be ignorant. You could kind of be cool and not know anything. But now the game has changed. You really, because anyone can fact check anything you say on their smartphone, you have to sort of be on top of things. And when you can share something with your friends that is cool, that you know that they don't know, that raises your social standing. So I think there's a real value in knowing things now and there wasn't that before.
That can't be quite true, because, I mean, the libraries aren't packed. There aren't queues around the libraries.
You don't need to go to a library. All of human information is at the touch of a button.
So what is it about the fact, is it the fact that, well, just people don't have to read and they're a bit lazy, or is there something about the way you approach these subjects that is making 250 million people queue up to watch this?
Look, I think part of it is that, you know, these things are entertaining, and sometimes you want to waste your time, sometimes you want to procrastinate, but you don't really want to feel like that time is wasted. So isn't it great to learn something while being entertained? You can see that flame is starting to enlarge, and now we have the plasma coming off. I mean, it's like the Northern Lights watching this, and that's not far off from what it is. When I go on YouTube to make a video about some cool science topic like quantum entanglement and spooky action at a distance, that is my secret weapon, right? Because other people out there who are trying to make entertainment, they have to try to invent something that's cool. I don't have to invent anything that's cool. I have the most spectacular results that the human mind has ever uncovered.
Do you know the sorts of people who come and watch?
Yeah, so my audience is typically between sort of 13 to 35. So it's a young audience.
And the importance of that young audience, have you noticed at all that, you know, that YouTube and things like that are making a difference, turning younger people onto science?
I think it's making a huge difference, and I have a lot of anecdotal evidence, you know, with people sending me emails saying, you know, I'm studying physics because you got me interested in it. I'm you know, researching this particular topic, or I'm taking this minor, or I've decided to do this with my life because of how excited I am.
And nowhere is the excitement for science and tech more evident than at the first robotic championships in St. Louis. Here, more than $20 million of scholarships are up for grabs. None, though, are more poignant than the Bart Kamen Memorial Scholarships. They're in memory of Dean Kamen's brother, a well-respected doctor who died from cancer in 2012. These scholarships help biomedical engineering and pre-med undergraduates fund research.
This scholarship really made it possible for me to attend Notre Dame next year, and I'm really excited about that because I feel I'll have opportunities that I wouldn't have elsewhere to start doing medical research early and to start really making a difference while learning.
At MIT, I'd like to do a lot of research, especially involving the chemicals in the brain and depression, and this scholarship will allow me to do that as soon as I get on campus.
I want to work in the field of public and global health, so my goal is to find exciting new innovations that will eventually help people in countries across the globe, including our own, and tackle the unique challenges that different cultures and different people face.
Dean Kamen is an inventor. He believes anything is possible, especially as he found himself in the unlikely position of becoming a science and tech superstar.
I'm confident that our army of kids there will become next generation's leaders. I would give you a caution. If we don't move science and technology to being top of mind for a much broader group of kids today, the future is going to be a very, very ugly place around this planet.
We never stop facing challenges. In fact, I think to a large extent we're defined by how we meet them and overcome them. Inspiring young minds like these with science could create a whole new generation of scientific thinkers who in their own turn can create a better, more intelligent world.
BBC News. I share the house with my brother. We don't have enough land to raise cattle at the ground level. We have decided to raise cattle on our roof, and I feel the cows like to live there. When someone buys a cow, my brother and I get emotional as we are so passionate about cows.
How the world looks depends on where you're standing. BBC News. Stories that connect us. Available in 27 languages.
When it comes to learning more about family and ancestors, well, we might look at old portraits and photographs, or sift through historical documents, or even search through public records. But now, there's another way. 23andMe is reinventing the way you look at your ancestors using the science of genetics, your DNA. With just a small saliva sample, you'll learn about your ancestry through your 23 pairs of chromosomes and make you who you are. With 23andMe.com, you can find out your percentages of DNA from 31 populations around the world. You can even see how much DNA you have in common with friends or family. And if you want, you can find DNA relatives, those people who share some of your DNA, and choose to message them. With 23andMe, you can experience your ancestry in a whole new way.
Order your DNA kit today to receive 23andMe's Ancestry service. Available now for $99 at 23andme.com.